I can't not like it, can I? Today I'm going to return to themes that I've covered before in this video, and I've covered them because I think they're incredibly important and incredibly interesting. Themes such as group behaviour, belonging, fandom. And I'm going to do it again through the lens of Taylor Swift because I think the Taylor Swift phenomenon is simply astonishing. And if sociologists and psychologists are not studying this very closely, then they bloody well ought to be. It reveals so much about human behaviour and possibly even about human evolution. Last night I was watching a YouTube video. Yes, again, look, I think YouTube offers us such an interesting window on the world sometimes. So I was watching a YouTube video of a group of 6 young people, late teens, early 20s, who were having a kind of record release party for Taylor Swift's Midnights album, which came out in 2022, in October 2022, and it came out at midnight. And they're all gathered in someone's apartment and they're very excited, obviously, about what's about to happen. And when the record drops, they're all absolutely glued to the screen, watching the lyrics and listening to the music, and they're so very enthusiastic about it, raving about every single song. But I thought to myself, would they ever be able to not like this album? Haven't they, in fact, backed themselves into such a corner that they simply couldn't not like it? They've invested so much in Taylor Swift and her music that it's almost impossible for them to see any flaws in anything she does. So they have to like this album. They can't not like it. It would destroy their world. It would destroy their own inner sense of self. Their world would implode if they had to admit that this wasn't a particularly good Taylor Swift album. They could never get those words out. They would have that struggle internally, I think, because they've invested so much in this person and her music, but they would also struggle with it in a social sense, I think. If, as a member of that group, I didn't particularly like one of the songs, could I say that to the group without the risk of being ostracized? There was one particular young woman in the group who didn't seem quite as excited or enthusiastic as the others did, and she certainly didn't say as much. And it may be that that's just her personality. But I did wonder, was there some process going on inside her? Was she thinking, I don't really like that song, but I can't say that to them because then they'll turn on me and I'll be cast out of the group. And this group has become my social network. This has become my family. So I have to keep these thoughts, these feelings to myself and even hide them away from myself. It's not difficult to see how, in evolutionary terms, such a behaviour could have come into being. The cohesion of the group is so important in a potentially hostile, dangerous, even deadly environment. And dissent within the group could be fatal to the group. And anyone who threatens that unity, that cohesion, could be seen as a threat to the group and possibly punished in some way, ostracised, maybe even charged with a crime, maybe even put to death. So it's very difficult when you're part of a group, when the survival of the group and your own survival depends on that group, to express a contrary opinion. And I suspect you even try to hide it from yourself. You suppress it. Clearly this phenomenon can take place not just within a fan group, but within other human groups and organisations as well. Obviously things like religious cults, or even just more generally, more broadly, a religious community, or in a political movement. How do you express dissent within that movement without being ostracised by the movement and losing the support that group provides you with, this family that they provide you with? How do you even face it within yourself that you're experiencing some kind of dissonance with the group? Maybe even dissonance within yourself. You can't quite bring yourself to believe what someone within that group or one of the teachings of that group is telling you. But you also can't quite admit to yourself that you don't believe it, because that threatens this sense of belonging, and indeed it threatens your sense of identity. It seems to be a natural tendency within people, at least within some people, to go fully down the rabbit hole. When they like something, they commit to it wholeheartedly. There's something slightly obsessive about this behavior, I think, but I think it's probably also part of all of us. We don't go in half-hearted, we commit ourselves wholeheartedly to this phenomenon, whatever it may be. Perhaps we should keep a careful eye on ourselves when we see ourselves tumbling down that rabbit hole. Try to keep our feet on the ground somewhat so that we can maintain some distance from the group. I think being completely subsumed by the group is very dangerous. We lose ourself, we lose our own identity, and we become trapped within that group. So we need to maintain some kind of social distancing in a new sense, not in the COVID sense, but some kind of social distancing from any group to which we belong. We need to retain our own identity, our own beliefs, even at the risk of being ostracized. And of course, that is a very serious threat to someone, that they be ostracized from a group to which they think they belong, to which they feel an affinity. We all need to be able to retain our own identities, our own opinions, no matter how cohesive the group needs to be. Unfortunately, I think this is another situation where we're fighting against our own evolutionary history.